The benefits of home fencing are not only as a barrier between the area of the house and the surrounding environment. In simple words, a fence is a formation or structure that is above the ground and is generally vertical, with the intention of limiting an area, protecting everything inside the fence, from threatening danger from outside the fence. The construction of dams is labor-intensive. Before construction begins, water is diverted or prevented from moving through the construction site. After water is diverted, the foundation area is excavated, and sediments that will act as the foundation are repaired. This is done to ensure the sediments won't shift or fail as a result of the load of the dam and reservoir. Astronomers announced that they have finally assembled an image of the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. This image shows a bright ring surrounding the darkness, the telltale sign of the shadow of the black hole. It reveals the turbulent, twisting region immediately surrounding the black hole in new detail. Frogs have excellent night vision and are very sensitive to movement. The bulging eyes of most frogs allow them to see in front, to the sides, and partially behind them. When a frog swallows food, it pulls its eyes down into the roof of its mouth, to help push the food down its throat. Programs, such as delicate wash or color wash, are one of the features of washing machines, particularly fully automatic washing machines, which gives you the choice when it comes to how you want to wash your clothes. If you're washing with a certain fabric, then programs help you find the optimal washing conditions for your laundry needs, from selecting the right wash temperature to setting up your washing timing. Anyone who creates something artistic, such as fashion photos on the shoe, automatically has copyright to them. It consists of a financial right that is possible to license or sell, and a non-profit right that cannot be agreed away. The latter means that you always have the right to be mentioned in connection with your work being used. Particle accelerators produce and accelerate beams of charged particles, such as electrons, protons, and ions, of atomic and subatomic size. They are used not only in fundamental research for an improved understanding of matter, but also in plethora of socioeconomic applications related to environmental monitoring, food quality, energy, and aerospace technologies. The popular trend of revolving restaurants and bars began sometime in the early 60s after the successful launch of such towering creations as the Space Needle. But as the novelty wore off, the mechanical upkeep and maintenance of such ventures proved to be too costly for some entrepreneurs over time, and many once famous icons like Encounter Restaurant have since closed. Fast growth in both world energy demand and carbon dioxide emissions due to fossil fuels has resulted in search for alternative sources which are not only renewable but also environment friendly. One of these alternative sources is ecofuels, which are solid, liquid, or gaseous fuels primarily produced from biomass. The solid ecofuels include wood, animal dung, municipal waste, and energy crops. A stationary bike workout is a low-impact workout that uses smooth movements to strengthen bones and joints without putting much pressure on them. Because your feet don't lift off the pedals with a stationary bike, this option is kinder to your joints, but it still provides a challenging and effective workout. A hernia is a weakness or opening in the abdominal wall, which often results in soft tissue such as fat protruding through the abdominal muscles and occupying space under the skin. The mechanism of the hernia is similar to what happens with a bulge in a damaged tire, where the inner tube, normally contained by the hard rubber of the tire, extends through a thin or weakened place. Since the beginning, the Eiffel Tower drew attention and served as the theater for numerous events in the life of Paris and France. The tower can be seen from many and various points around Paris and its suburbs. It is photographed, filmed, and replicated in all kinds of circumstances. It naturally slipped into the role of symbolizing France in the collective imagination and in literature and poetry. Titanic swarms of desert locusts resembling dark storm clouds are descending ravenously on the Horn of Africa. They're roving through croplands and flattening farms in a devastating salvo. Experts are calling an unprecedented threat to food security. On the ground, subsistence planters can do nothing but watch, staring up with horror and at their fields in dismay. International Women's Day is marked on March 8 every year. Countries around the world celebrate it to give credit to the economic, political, and social achievements of women and to show respect to their contributions in the development of their countries. It's only in the beginning of the 20th century that the day was officially and internationally acknowledged due to the rapid industrialization and the social protest that it accompanied. The most significant difference between an eating disorder and disordered eating is whether or not a person's symptoms and experiences align with the criteria defined by the American Psychiatric Association. The term disordered eating is a descriptive phrase, not a diagnosis. We want a recreation in adulthood of what it felt like to be administered to and indulged. In a secret part of our minds, we picture someone who will understand our needs, bring us what we want, to be immensely patient and sympathetic to us, act selflessly, and make it all better. Many individuals have unwittingly contributed to this book through sharing ideas with us as colleagues, students, practitioners, tourists, and residents of destination areas. They are too numerous to thank individually. And indeed, it is not possible to isolate exactly their specific contributions. This report includes a huge swath of macroeconomics, such as the effects of tax reform, and new industrial policy, and understanding how to deal with the uncertainty inherent in global financial market. But it also covers key areas of microeconomic policies, such as boosting laggardly rates of productivity. We've spent a lot of money over the last 70 years on flood control, and it's protected millions of people and has saved us billions of dollars. We've built dams to hold back the waters. We've built levees to keep the water off the people, and we've raised the ones that were originally started in 1718. We can see from the rays that at an early stage of painting, a window was painted in at the left of the portrait. It seems that there may have been two windows in the initial design for the portrait, or that the window was moved at an early stage. The central idea of this book concerns our blindness with respect to randomness, particularly the large deviations. Why do we, scientists or non-scientists, hotshots or regular Joes, tend to see the pennies instead of the dollars. Why do we keep focusing on the minutiae, not the possible significant large events, in spite of the obvious evidence of their huge influence? The COVID-19 pandemic may be triggering early puberty in some girls. Several studies suggest the outbreak is increasing the number of girls going through premature sexual development, and experts are unsure why. In the latest of a string of studies, researchers at the University of Bonn, Germany, reported how the number of girls diagnosed with early puberty at a single medical center remained constant between 2015 and 2019, at fewer than 10 cases a year. The role of women in promoting voluntary medical male circumcision uptake. Research reveals the important role played by women in influencing men to undergo circumcision. Women are also motivated to convince men to undergo male circumcision because of the benefits associated with them, such as reduction of HIV transmission and cervical cancer. Every few seconds, our eyelids automatically shutter and our eyeballs roll back into their sockets. So why doesn't blinking plunge us into intermittent darkness and light? New research shows that the brain works extra hard to stabilize our vision despite our fluttering eyes. When our eyeballs roll back in their sockets during a blink, they don't always return to the same spot when we reopen our eyes. Changes in climate affect, for example, the plant and animal life of a given area. The presence of cold beds in North America and Europe, along with evidence of glaciation in these same areas, indicates that they must have experienced alternately warmer and colder climates than they now possess. Summer research scholarships offer a unique opportunity for external organizations, academics, and students to work together in research. Working with globally recognized researchers in a local setting, students gain valuable real-world experience as well as insight into what research is all about. Political scholars have historically recognized the social love of mass media. The impact of the mass media on the electric and governing process has greatly increased over the last 50 years. Tomorrow, the mass media will become the central nervous system for your society and the major source of public information. Efficiency is not your friend when it comes to cognitive growth. In order to keep our brains making new connections and keep them active, you need to keep moving on to another challenging activity as soon as you reach the point of mastery in the one you were engaging in. Deep brain stimulation, DBS, to the superolateral branch of the medial forebrain bundle, MFB, which is linked to reward and motivation, revealed metabolic brain changes over 12 months post-DBS implantation, making it a strong potential therapy for treatment-resistant depression, according to researchers. James Webb Space Telescope was specifically designed to observe this light, which comes from some of the oldest galaxies to take form. How did early stars and galaxies take shape? What about the cosmic material that is undetectable, known as dark matter? Is there evidence for it in the early eons of the universe? These are some of the perplexing and fascinating questions that astronomers can begin unraveling with Webb. Investigations like this one have been plodding along for 40 years, and some studies, like one following the deadly Kobe quake in 1995, have found similar correlations. But study author Alistair Skelton, a professor of geochemistry at Stockholm University, says the unpredictable subject of study makes it tough to get funding because you can in no way guarantee a result. So I'll get 3 years of money, but if there's no earthquake, research has shown that the gut microbiome is important for human physiology and health. Disturbances to the composition of the gut microbiome can be associated with chronic diseases such as gastrointestinal inflammatory disorders, neurological, cardiovascular, and respiratory illnesses. The human body has evolved strategies to ensure that a symbiotic relationship exists between the microbes in our gut and our cells. Research has found we pursue more rewards when we become habituated to a higher standard of living and compare ourselves to various standards. What it takes to be happy depends on our prior expectations, but these expectations see cool room temperature inhibited cancer growth in mice. Mice acclimatized to temperatures of 4 degrees Celsius had significantly slower tumor growth, and lived nearly twice as long compared with mice in rooms of 30 degrees Celsius because they were burning more brown fat. And change over time. One of the major factors influencing future home design will be the probable change in climate, with hotter summers, colder winters, and the possibility of floods. Consequently, houses will be built with better insulation, and will also need ways of keeping cool in hot weather, whether that's air conditioning or more shading of windows. The dyes and pigments available in any particular period in which a specific color photographic process was invented, manufactured, and used have profound effects on the quality of color that defines most of the style in particular historical period. The problem is that increased immune vigilance has a side effect: allergies. Our speculation is that this is some kind of trade-off. In the past, you needed to resist some kind of pathogen, and the trade-off or sacrifice you have to make is increased responsiveness to non-pathogenic allergens. So next time some of you get the springtime sniffles, blame your distant ancestor, the one with the heavy brow ridge. As the inventor of alternating current technology, Nikola Tesla played a paramount role in the electricity used to power the entire world. Tesla also worked diligently on a dream of supplying electrical power without wires. Thomas Edison was also instrumental in shaping society today with his inventions. Edison's design of the inside of the light bulb was the crucial key to making a light that would stay lit for hours instead of going out almost immediately. Japan is the world's calculator superpower. Japanese manufacturers have led sales of calculators for over 30 years in many countries. Even in the age of personal computers, calculators are still essential in accounting jobs. In addition, calculators with graphing capabilities have begun to be used in education. Countries bordering the Mediterranean have built up a solid reputation for sunshine and great-tasting food, as well as impressive health statistics featuring some of the lowest rates of heart disease and increased life expectancy. This has created a lot of attention towards the Mediterranean diet, which is not a typical weight loss diet, but more of a set of habits. Cloud seeding, a form of weather modification, is a way of attempting to change the amount of precipitation that comes from clouds. Cloud seeding is carried out by dispersing substances into the air, but it also occurs due to ice nucleates in nature, most of which are bacterial in origin. Whether salamander, frog, or toad, amphibians are some of the most diverse and far-flung animals on the planet. However, they're disappearing, and experts are worried since frogs are considered bellwethers for the environment. Their double life makes them unique. It's through their skin that they breathe and drink water because their skin is so permeable. What produces these effects are familiar to neuroscientists: external light and dark signals that help set our daily, or circadian, rhythms, clock genes that act as internal timekeepers, and neurons that signal to one another through connections called synapses. But how these factors interact to freshen a brain once we do sleep has remained enigmatic. The executive residence in the White House in the United States of America, where the president resides, is divided into several wings. It also includes the vice president's and president's staff's offices. This government building is a national heritage. If you do experience a motorcycle crash, be aware that the other driver will most likely blame you for the accident. This includes the road conditions, any skid marks, road signs, construction, and anything else that may have contributed to the accident. Not every accident requires an attorney, but a knowledgeable local attorney can help you make sense of the process, as well as ensure that the other driver's insurance doesn't unfairly blame you for the accident. Many people are under the impression that the water which comes out of a plant is clean. This is a common misconception. The function of a plant is to make the water cleaner, but it's not clean enough to drink. It could be used in irrigation. What a plant is trying to do is simply speed up a process that would naturally occur given more time. This means that a plant can create water that is safe to enter back into the water system as it's so heavily diluted. The river then continues the water purification, acting as a form of the fourth stage. Electric vehicles have arrived. With technology led by Tesla and all of the world's major car manufacturers following along behind, electric vehicles are now a common sight on the roads of most developed countries. Yet the situation in less developed countries is rather different. The only African country to have started the change to electric vehicles is South Africa. Based on the results from this study, we hypothesized that a high-protein diet coupled with low-carbohydrate intake would be beneficiary for prevention of bone loss in adults. However, randomized clinical trials or longitudinal studies are needed to further assess our findings. Neutron stars, the compressed remains of massive stars gone supernova, are the densest normal objects in the known universe. Black holes are technically denser, but far from normal. Just a single sugar cube worth of neutron star material would weigh 100 million tons here on Earth, or about the same as the entire human population. The classic era of Mayan came to an end around 900 AD. Why this happened is unclear. The cities were probably over-farming the land, so that a period of drought led to famine. Recent geological research supports this, as there appears to have been a 200-year drought around this time. Our survivors have told me many times that hate starts small and it grows when your neighbors, workmates, and friends ignore it and do nothing. Hate triumphs when intolerance and prejudice become ingrained across an entire society, from the pages of newspapers to the halls of government, from schoolrooms to boardrooms.